the meter manufacturer's perspective, and let me begin by sort of telling you what the time is, because I know a couple of you are concerned about it. We will be finishing the session by 1:55. So, Mr. Kumar, I know you have a hard stop at 2. Mr. Singh, I know a couple of you have 2 o'clock situations, and we'll make sure it's finished by 1:55. But in a way, our session began 5 to 7 minutes ago, so we've had an hour on this one. Let me briefly introduce the 3 people. Mr. Amit, and this is in alphabetic order. Mr. Amit Kumar is Vice President and Business Unit Head of L&T Electrical and Automation. He's got about 3 decades of experience in the energy sector, and has been working to develop strategic alliances, design products, ensure higher productivity, and maintain operational flexibility. He's Chairman of CII's Mysuru Zone, Chairman of Meter Division at IEMA, also Chairman of South Zone for India Value Engineering Society. He's an electrical engineer by training, also has a postgraduate diploma in marketing management. Welcome, Mr. Kumar. Great to have you with us. Also, this is an old friend of our organization, a very old friend, I should say, Mr. Sunil Singhvi, CEO of Secure Motors Limited. Secure Meters Limited. I don't know why it says motors on this bio, but I've known Secure for 20 odd years, so it cannot be that I don't know Secure Meters. He's got almost 4 decades of experience, and has worked, of course, a great deal on electricity, but has also been involved with gas and water utility business as well. And he's been working with Secure and air businesses not only in India, but also abroad. And abroad means many countries, including UK, Indonesia, and a number of others, where I think he had spent some time, if I'm not mistaken. At some stage, he had gone to Southeast Asia for some time, if I'm not mistaken. It's not given in the bio, but I do remember that. He's a member of National Executive Council of IEMA, also chairman of Smart Grid Division. He's an electrical engineer by training. And welcome, Mr. Singhvi, as always. Also with us is Mr. Ashish Tandon, who is Senior Vice President, Genus Power, and he's recently joined Genus Power. By recently, I mean just a few months now. He was earlier with Landis and Gear, and before that he's with Itron, Schlumberger, and GE as well. And he was an immediate past chairman of IEMA Meter Division, so something, a position that Mr. Kumar has now. And he's got about 3 decades of experience, and he has been very involved in training, AMI, smart grid rollouts, etc. And he's an engineer too, and has completed a management course from GE Crotonville, which I guess is the GE University for Management program. Anyway, so we've got a great panel here, and so the questions that we hope to address in this session are. The questions that have been given, I'm going to add a couple more to those, is what are the new and emerging metering technologies most suited for Indian utilities? I'm going to change that slightly when I ask you that question. What is the industry preparedness for rollout of 300 million smart meters? And what are the key challenges that are facing meter manufacturers pre and post COVID? So I'm going to reverse this order a little bit. I'm going to make sure that each one of you has a first shot at the answer. So I'll start with the key challenges facing COVID times. Let's say during the COVID, and we'll come to post-COVID later on. So how has COVID impacted your business? And I'm going to start in alphabetical order. So we'll go with Mr. Kumar first, Mr. Singhvi, and then Mr. Tandon. With the next question, I'll go with Mr. Singhvi first, and Mr. Tandon, and then Kumar. And the last question, I'll go with Mr. Tandon, and then Kumar. Yeah, Mr. Kumar. Yeah, how has COVID impacted your business?
Thank you, Mr. Barara, and always a pleasure to be in PowerLine. I remember 2 years back when I was speaking, we were discussing on the challenges of the meter manufacturing. And again, after in 2020, again, we are discussing what are the challenges which are there in front of the meter manufacturing industry. And other day when we were in a meeting and we were discussing, the Schneider global head, Joe Pascal, was mentioning that industry will be remembered how they have dealt with 2020. And in this crisis situation, an organization who have been resilient will make it in the industry. Yes, post-COVID and pre-COVID are totally 2 different things. And pre-COVID, I am talking of January, February, when things were a bit different, but we could see the pandemic coming. We were all trying to, but we were not serious. And the lockdown started maybe in 3rd week of March, and then the whole industry went for a toss. I'm not talking of the industry getting closed due to the pandemic. I'm talking of the supply chain getting disrupted. And now with the present China crisis, the country is going through another year of shipments not coming from that country. And how the metering industry has been impacted. The metering industry is in India is more than around 40 to 50%. They are dependent on imports, and imports from over the places of the world, including our neighboring countries and countries where we share the common border with. So the supply chain is a disrupted one for the metering industry because a lot of electronics, they are not coming on time, or if they are coming, the shipments are getting delayed. And the metering demand in India, though it is coming down, and there is some crisis in it, but yes, the orders which we had, all the manufacturers, we were also discussing at the IMA forum, we are facing a crisis on it. So post COVID, this is the COVID time. So in the COVID times, there is a supply chain disruption. Many industries are facing it, but the metering industry as such is having a tough time in the pandemic. The post-COVID, if you talk of, the industry will be resilient. They will make up what they can do. And
Mr. Kumar, if I can stop you. So what has been the impact on business in terms of any numbers you can mention?
You see, as such, the demand has come down by almost 20-25%.
Okay.
There is no, and then second is some of the prices are going up. Like we use virgin polycarbonate. The virgin polycarbonate, immediately the prices are going up. Okay. Then there will be a shortage of electronics. So electronics in the spot market, the prices are going to go up.
All right. Okay. Sir, I interrupted you. Now you can talk about post-COVID challenges.
Post-COVID, you see, we all strongly from the industry feel that post-COVID, the industry will bounce back fast. You see, now we heard Mr. Raval speaking, and he was talking of large-scale deployments. And India, I think the Prime Minister's and the Power Ministry's program of installing 240 million smart meters remains as what it is there. So the industry is going to bounce back. And we will also find out new ways of making the supply chain more strong, and that will be in place. So I'm talking of the scenario, say, post-June 21. Right. Post-June 21, the industry will be strong.
Okay. Mr. Singhvi, over to you, sir. Same question. How is the business and what is the outlook?
If I see globally, two things have happened. One, installations have slowed down. Customer appointments are being cancelled. Number of the developed world also, customers are not allowing the installers to come to their house. So the installations I will give example of a country which was installing about 500,000 meters a month. It dropped to few thousands in couple of months. And last month they moved to 100,000 meters. So installations have dropped down significantly. And still, people are not sure whether customers will give appointments or not. If you see the Indian utilities particularly, even in this market also, the electricity consumption has dropped because of the industrial load has dropped, the economy has shrunk. And my big worry remains that because of that, DISCOM's profitability is impacted. And the cash flow, I think the most important which Indian industry is suffering today, many of the DISCOMs are not paying on time. Some of them not paid even for 3 years now, or 2 years then. So the critical bit is that the cash flow is a major challenge for the industry today. And third, which Amit said, supply chain. Some of the policies or some of the logistic issues and everything, the sudden change in the policy, etc., is also impacting supply chain. So these three are the major challenges. Post-COVID, again, it depends upon the recovery cycle because of the cash flow, etc. Industry is predicting 18 months to 24 months recovery cycle, depend anywhere 12 to 18 months, 14, 24 months. And of course, Government of India is committed for the rollout of smart meter. Only my judgment is the trajectory will be very different from what people usually think, because capacity will be not the supply capacity, manufacturing capacity, but installation capacity. Because India has not installed more than 30 million meters any time in the world life, and no country is installed. So it may not be 3, 4, 5 year program, it may be 7, 8 year program, but demand will be there, but demand will be 30, 40 million meter a month. You are mute, Alok.
You are mute, Alok. We can't hear you.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure there was no echo. Mr. Tandon, same question for you. How has COVID impacted metering business, your business, and what do you see happening post-COVID?
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks, Alok. It's always been a pleasure, and everywhere you come to, when we come to this platform and share our experience and views, and get a lot of views from our colleagues, from the industry experts. Coming to your question back, this COVID thing, this has really severely impacted the business. It's not only the metering business. If you see the whole Indian electrical and electronic industry has got affected with that. We are but a part of it, simple as that. Now I will just try to bifurcate in three parts. There was the internal factor, an external factor, and the middle layer which was joining this internal and external. Now how we do that basically, when we say the external factors, one external factor was that this was all of a sudden. And when we say we were not prepared for it, nobody was prepared for it. Neither we were prepared as an industry, neither the customer was prepared as an industry, neither the government was prepared as an industry that it will be so severe. It started with 21 days, it went to 41 and then to 50 and then unlock 1, 2, 3, 4 started. And we don't know how far it will go. So the problems which we faced in the initially and how we tackled and down how we post-COVID, let's try to put it in three different segments, The first reaction was that whatever the finished goods we were having, it just stuck at our stores for everyone, Why it happened? Because the installation got stopped. There was no installation. The demand came down for the utilities. The revenue went down basically, and there was no recovery. Even the utilities were not able to take the readings for, apart from the smart meters, which we say the ESL and others, they were online reading, but there were no reading, and there was ad hoc collection of the bills for few months. And with that, when the utilities are already into a lot, you can say in red on the losses, and the revenue coming down and the consumption going down, the whole thing got disrupted. And therefore, whatever we had in our stores got stuck. Slowly after that, when we started, the industry started getting momentum, started coming out of it, slowly the concept of e-inspection started, which was never happened in the industry in our last 30-40 years, because every time there's inspection, inspector comes, there's a proper inspection. The concept of the e-inspection got evolved, and as an industry, we got a lot of support from the government, from the utilities, to agree to those type of changes which they have never seen and never undergone in their life, basically. So we got a lot of support from utilities, because after the initial setback of 1.5 months, we just got like, when you get a shock, you get come out of it, and that's the time when we were coming out of it. And utility also joined hands, and they started the inspection, and slowly the material started rolling out of the factory, basically. But while we were dispatching the meters out of the factory, the incoming raw material got stuck. And there were 2-3 things which has happened. There were a couple of laws and a couple of things which was enforced by the government, on the Ministry of Power, which was the China thing, which was the extra additional checkpoints on the, on the containers, which has because of the COVID, and that delayed everything. So whatever the new supply or the new manufacturing also got affected because of the backlog. A thing getting cleared in a week started getting cleared in 4 weeks, basically. It started taking 4 to 5 weeks. And that started blocking all the incoming raw material. And obviously, if you don't have even a one small component, you can't manufacture a meter. You can't calibrate a meter. You can't sell the meter. So that also got clubbed with what the shock we were coming out. But slowly, I think that things got eased out, and except those China thing, the China containers, any container coming from China, which have been, I think, separated out. The other containers have been filtered, and there's a process now, during the clearance, where those materials started coming quite quickly, and another more has to go through more checkpoints, if it is coming from China. So these were the things which we got stuck all of a sudden. And the middle layer, basically, if we see the COVID thing, if it has been IT industry, you can start working from home. TCS, Oracle, you're talking of Google. Everybody have got option, but when you are working on machines, you can't take machines at home. You have to go to machines, basically. So basically, you have to really, even if there's a COVID sentiment or a COVID fear, the operator has to go, the manufacturing plant has to run with that fear, with all those checkpoints. Obviously, all the companies have done it, social distancing, or mask and everything. But there's always a fear when you go to in a factory where 200, 300 people are working. You can stay apart 6 feet and 8 feet, but you are in one roof.
How has it impacted production right now?
Yeah, see, production has definitely gone down, basically, because it has gone down and gone up again, basically, because of the supply chain. And obviously, with this in between, the COVID cases were less, but now we see every building or every factory, you're finding COVID cases.
Yeah, for COVID cases, we know what. Let me ask you specifically. So are you seeing in the last month or so, and this can all change, I understand that. In the last 1 month, have you seen demand and sales recover or not recover?
Slightly you can say, but not to that point, because see, whatever day you lose, you will not get back. You have
I understand that
64
part.
in a day, so you can't get back. So the
I
whole,
understand.
I mean, the annual thing, the annual figures, for every company will get impacted,
Right.
not one company.
But in terms
So
of August versus year ago, how was that?
a year ago, definitely it was better. I mean,
No,
obviously.
no. I mean, no. What I mean is this August versus last year. How much was it down? Was it 10% down or 50%?
I don't, definitely a downfall, but I don't remember the figures, but definitely there's a downfall. There's no doubt about it.
All right, let me move on to the next question then. And my next question is going to be on industry preparedness for the rollout of 300 million smart meters. And I'm going to go to Mr. Singhvi first, although he's already indicated, he's already given some opinion on the capacity, etc. already in answer to the last question. Mr. Singhvi, so my question is going to be, first of all, is it a good program? What are the challenges? And will the industry be able to provide whatever is needed?
I think industry Alok has given multiple times confidence to the government of India and Ministry of Power. And I think industry has a capacity of in excess of 100 million meters today, even today, without expansion. So manufacturing capacity is not a constraint. And I think I can say with a lot of pride that Indian industry is rather exporting to the outside India. More than 40, 50 countries uses Indian make smart meters today. So capacity is not a constraint. What I always believe, there are two other capacities required, two or other three capacities required. One is the installation capacity. Is a smart meter installation if you install smart meters like a normal meter, then you have many issues. Your communication reliability gets impacted. You don't get benefit. Your workmanship issues comes. So important point is that have you created installation capacity, trained manpower, trained utility engineers, and number two is the capacity of using data. Today, even the data, number of places where the readings are being taken, smart meters are just kilowatt hour reading for billing purpose. And they very, with a great pride, they say we have done billing. Is only 5% of what smart meters can do. So I think the capacity building of utility engineers, the installation capacity has to be built in. From the supply chain, from the meter supply chain, I have no issues.
Okay.
And number three, who will pay for it?
Right.
Because see, even the external funders, unless you give a payment security from DISCOMs, the investment will be limited.
Right. Okay. So what do you think about the meter prices that have been built?
I think it all depends upon what type of technology you use. I think people always talk about meter prices, and I think this is the 10th time I'm telling in your conference. People don't assess the lifetime cost. India, people replace meter once in 3, 4, 5 years, buy the cheap meter. And very happy that our meter prices have dropped down. So it is not important what is the price. It's important what is the life of the meter. So if the meter circuits in the 10 years and is marginally higher, doesn't make a difference. So prices may vary from 3,000 to 4,000, depending upon the technology you use.
Okay. Is there a mismatch, therefore, between the way they're going about auctioning process? I mean,
100%.
And they have to service for 8.5 years or 8 to 9.
I always advocate, rather than is an intelligent device, is not a mass commodity device. You should look for the lifetime cost. And I always tell people, ask the meter supplier to supply, maintain, operate for 10 years. Some meter supply is asset funder. Meter supply will sell to meter asset funder. Right. Supply, install, maintain for 10 years. Right. This cost. See, I'll just give an example to you how the worldwide metering is done. No retailer in UK or Australia or other parts of the competitive market buys meter. Nobody buys the meter. Asset funders buys meter, they put meter and they manage meter for 10 years. And they ensure that whatever meter quality they buy works for 10 years.
Right. Okay.
So I think important point which utility should learn is not L1 or reverse auction, or then you compromise on quality and you replace after 3 years, and you compromise on the installation cost and compromise on the revenue.
Right. Okay.
And one simple example, Alok, last. Why the private utilities buy at different price today than government utilities? Their private utilities are not having extra money to pay to us. Is there reliability which is we pay for reliability?
Right. Okay. I think that's an important point. That's why I was saying, because they're offering 8 to 9 years to DISCOMs, they should make sure that it works for 8 to 9 years, and they look at life cycle cost. Let me go to Mr. Tandon next for this one. Mr. Tandon, what are your thoughts about the Mr. Singhvi has said industry is prepared, and I'm assuming you agree with him on that. But in the way the program is rolling out and the process so far, do you have any thoughts on that?
See, I just comment on what my colleague Mr. Singhvi said. I mean, this question has been asked when I was the chairman and the vice chairman of the meter division. We have been interacting with the ministry, CA, and all those forums. And this question every month, you can say, was put up in every forum, you know, by the industry. And my answer has been consistent that Indian industry is 100% capable, 100% globally and locally, you can say. They can supply globally and locally, not India and outside India, what Mr. Singhvi has said. Now, I'll give you an example. Now, we'll say, as a chairman, you will always support the industry. Just a 2 year back, in 17, 18, and 18, 19, there was a program, being run by the Government of India, Ministry of Power there, where you will close to 40 million meters were required in a year, basically. And you will not believe it was so tight, but and that was apart from the 38 million meters which we produce normally, 30 to 38 millions, which is the requirement. This was the requirement because of the 100% electrification program, which was being run by the Government of India. And you will not believe that within a year we were able to complete, not only produce, ship those meters. If there were delivery times for 3 months, we were doing in 2 months and 1 month. And as an industry, we were able to supply within that 12 months.
I think it's stated the industry is prepared, ready. We can put that aside. What is your how the process has come out so far? Anything you already complimented Mr. Rawal on the good things. What are not so good things about this program?
See, as I said, and a few things, the speed you procure the meters and the speed you install the meters, there has to be some ratio, or there has to be some constraint that I discuss. Basically, if we see right now close to 2 million meters, approximately 15 to 20 lakh meters have been installed. And I know ESL is fully committed to be majority part of, out of that 240 million meters. So that program has to have a very strategic deployment, that what initially we discussed with Mr. Rawal, that's one. And that will, see, at the end of the day, you have to put meters in the system to start getting benefit of those meters. Mm-hmm. That has to be a little more, has to be done in a more direction way, right, the way we have procured the meters. And that's not only for one, that is for everybody. That's for everybody. It's for private utilities, for utilities, state utilities who have bought the smart meters. It's a system at the end of the day. When we're talking of the the metering technology, I beg to differ that there is no longer metering technology. It's metering solutions at the end of the day. And when we talk of metering solution, it's end-to-end. It's smart meters, deployment, HES, MDM, connecting to IT, OT, security, interoperability. Everything has to seem as a full gamut, basically. Until you do that, you will not get the real benefits of the smart meters.
Okay, so they need to do that and not look at it as simply a meter purchase, meter installation, etc. Okay, we'll come back to that. Mr. Kumar, first your comments in terms of process followed by ESL, the speed, the prices, and the eventual target, which is very, very ambitious. Yeah, you have to unmute yourself, sir. I think we keep muting people to reduce the echo, so you have to unmute yourself.
As far as the industry is concerned, Indian metering industry, we are all prepared, and both Mr. Singhvi and Mr. Tandon have mentioned that we have given the confidence. We had a meeting with the Power Minister last August, and we gave him the confidence that we can give around 100 million meters a year. So the meter part, the technology part has been taken care of. It comes now to the deployment part. Now, deployment part, you see, during COVID times, as mentioned, it may be a bit difficult in terms of installation, and it will be slow to get people and things like that. What I feel is that ESL is not working on a target, or it is a very ambitious target which they cannot do. They can easily do that. And other part is the acceptability by the customers and the discounts. So you see, there has been a project of MP Indore. It was a very successful project, and they have showcased to the world that how the revenue they have controlled. So that story is also in place in front of the country and the discounts, that the deployment is going to be a successful win-win situation for the country as a whole in terms of discounts and the revenue. So I feel very strongly that this can be done, and the Indian industry can do that. And if it is means Indian manufacturer can do that, ESL has to repose that confidence that yes, we will procure from Indian manufacturers only, and that gives a lot of employment opportunities for the meter industry in general, for engineers and everybody. And I feel that it is possible number which
Okay.
ESL is looking at.
All right. My next question, Mr. Kumar, I'm going to begin with you only. It relates to the fact that government is really pushing smart meters through various ways, linking the recent relief package with installation of meters, PEC, RFC are doing all of that. A lot of discoms are not convinced about smart meters, right? And A, whether they are useful, B, they are affordable, etc., etc. So in your judgment, should we be pushing for everyone to have smart meters or not? And so what do you think about this whole thing?
You see, discoms in our various interactions from IMA or in my individual meetings, discoms are convinced that smart meter is a ultimate, means it has to be done. Now, the only question which comes up, and when I speak, you see, India has a 130, we are a 1.3 billion people, 130 crores. So when you go to the meters, the revenue per month from the meter is only maybe 150 rupees or 200 rupees or 250 rupees. That is the place where the discoms don't get convinced that whether that deployment will ultimately make a revenue sense for them or not. But the discoms in terms of the collection coming, like be it prepaid, because smart can also be run as a prepaid meter. So the discoms are pretty convinced that yes, it is going to help. And in MP Indore, the showcase study, I can, L&T did that work, and we had got almost every discom had sent their customers there to attend that, to see what they have done and the success story behind it. So now slowly the discoms are coming to terms, but still that question still remains in the discoms, that where the revenue from a customer is around 200 rupees, whether it makes still sense to deploy the meter or not.
Okay. I think I should have asked Mr. Tandon this question, but I will give him next one, the first one. Mr. Tandon, your thoughts on this one? I mean, is smart meters really necessary for all the discoms? Yeah, unmute yourself, sir. Sir, if you can unmute yourself.
My opinion is on this is basically, I don't think so there is any utility in India who is not convinced to the point that they would like to buy smart meters. There have been a lot of studies, a lot of discussion, and a lot of education and knowledge sharing. The only problem is when you buy something, you should have money. So it boils down to funding. Today, we know the discoms positions, we know their P&L, So that is this barrier, they start with, and obviously that's the reason we've been talking to the government of India. If there is a fund mechanism which can be given, a part of it, the rest can be given by the discoms, and that program has to seen basically that how we do that. If there's a money available with them for whatever sources in terms of grant, in terms of loan, I don't think so utilities would not like to go for smart meter. Number one. Number two is I agree that everywhere smart meters are not required. Morning I was attending the session for the utilities perspective, and Mr. Bansal and the director commercial, they mentioned that maybe where the AMR is still working, ST side and LT side, where the readings are coming, there's no need of changing that ad hocly if they have been just in a year back. Where the losses, like the residential side or the commercial side, which are contributing to the losses of 30-35%. These are the places where to start putting the smart metering to get benefit out of it. Where in a STLT side, already the losses are at 10 or 11%. What more you will reduce? A 1% or 2% will not give you the payback of the smart meter cost, basically price. So if you have to see an ROI, you have to really start a place where the AT&C losses are very high, where you are not getting the money back. The utilities are not getting the money back. And that's the area where we say is the residential and commercial. That's the area they should start with. There has to be a proper program in terms of the funding, because you do half-heartedly, it's always you will get stuck. The supplier will not get paid, it will not be rolled out properly. And the third thing is, if you do it 100% in a city. Don't do it half-heartedly. If there are a mix of meters which are static also, which are AMR also, which is one house is having a smart meter, one house is having electromechanical meter, one house is having a smart meter, you are not going to get the benefit of that. If you go for a 200k, 500k, take one area, just put it a full smart. Don't touch another area. Get benefit out of it, start earning out of it, and put that money into other area. So some planning is required, and rather than replacing all 10, 20, 30 million meters in one shot. That's my opinion.
Mr. Singhi?
I'm slightly different school of thought, honestly.
Yeah.
based on economics.
That's what we like. Go ahead.
Two things I think government of India realize very soon now. Okay, I think you must have seen the recent ministry circular. It says smart prepayment or prepayment. I think focus of honorable minister is a prepayment, where people don't pay. If you see AT&C part, the C is critical, collection. Whether you put smart, people don't pay, your losses will not reduce AT&C, number one. Number two, I think so everybody has done mathematics. Somebody pays 150 rupees. He pays 1800 rupees for the per year. He pays 18,000 rupees for the lifetime, for 10 years, till the meter life to the utility. Utility makes a profit of 2,000 rupees from him. And the whole profit goes into asset. So I think worldwide people have done mathematics. The economy depends upon consumption. My economy says 1,000 rupees, 1,000 unit per month consumption. Smart meter is an easy go case. Below 1,000 rupees, mathematics become difficult. Number one. Number two, I think there is one simple philosophy. Everybody is talking about smart meter loss reduction. It's not only smart meter, it's an associated process. We should not forget it. If I will give an example to you today, the Surat Electric Company, they never use the smart meter 6% loss. How you take data and how you use data. I will give example to you. If you take even the normal electronic meter, which I put it there today, use electronic meters, electronic means, use mobile handheld, use anything, and you analyze the data, loss will come or not. Use it, take administrative actions, loss will come or not. Merely putting smart meter, not taking any action, even identifying theft, will not cause a loss reduction. This is, I can tell with my experience of 29 years of metering, please put associated processes and see the business case from the economics. This is my personal view.
Okay. All right. My next question, I'm going to go to Mr. Tandon now, since I didn't ask him the last time. And I'm going to rephrase the question than what was sent to you. What was sent to you was what was the new and emerging technologies most suited for Indian utilities. I think the technologies are all there. Perhaps I think what I seem to be getting from the panel is more a question of utilization. So I will rephrase the question. What are the things, technologies or that we could use? Are there new technologies, or is it more a question of using the technologies that are there fully? Mr. Tandon.
I mean, when you talk of the smart meters, right now, the smart meters are not a normal meter. They are prepaid and postpaid. Now, these meters are also connected. Now, we have to see from the consumer side also. When you say what are the smart meters, the question comes basically, it doesn't only benefit the utilities or the supplier, it also benefits the consumer. Today, you have the consumer app. When you talk about smart meter, which is not possible from an electromechanical meter or from a normal meter, you have mobile apps where you can see your consumption, you can manage your load, you can connect and disconnect your house appliances, if you go to the next end, the smart houses, and you can see basically how you manage your monthly consumption also, your monthly financials also of the. So that's all. If you see basically, that's one part of the consumer side. The second part is when we talk of the smart metering, it is not only limited to kWh billing. There are a lot of things which can be hooked up to the smart solutions in the canopy or in the on the network, which are DA related, etc., which are running in parallel, and utilities are having a lot of expenses running in parallel along with the smart meter. If you hook up those everything under one and you have everything on a palm top, definitely the whole thing gives you a better ROI.
Okay.
And the third thing which is benefits is the O&M, the utility part. Basically, you get a lot of real-time data which you normally get either on phone or either you get by the time you react to it. By the time you're also, the customer is very unhappy. He is not having electricity, or the very critical thing, which has to have. You don't have a path to it and immediate to make electricity available there. So these all things can all put together. Should be looked into totality rather than just having a smart meter or on a kWh billing.
So let me go to Mr. Kumar now, and I'm going to change the question or modify the question as we go along. The question evolves. Mr. Kumar, it seems that the basic metering technology, new technologies we have, smart meter seems to be the step. Some have already taken it, some are going to take it. But what about the other parts, communication and connectedness and all those things? Will there be some newer sort of introductions there and some step forward there from a technology point of view, not from an implementation point of view?
You see, communication is the most important part of a smart meter. One second, Shivu, please. So, smart meter, the communication is the most important part of a smart meter. And you see, there are 3-4 types of communication which happens. One is the PowerLine communication. Then we have got NB-IoT, then 4G, 3G. Now we are talking of this power line communication in the country cannot work. We have seen China try to do few pilot projects in Africa, and they were not successful. Now, when we are talking of, you see, 4G alone as per se is very costly. The country will move to 5G very shortly. Now, in the recent ESL tender talks of 4G fall back to 3G, fall back to 2G. Now, the earlier program was on 3G. Now, 3G, none of the places today, very difficult to find a 3G network. So, you see, there has to be a adjustment between how the telecommunication is moving and how the meter industry is putting the communication module there.
Right.
Earlier, we were talking of LoRa. Now, LoRa is also not easy deployment. The canopy is not an easy thing to get in. Then there was the communication module by different manufacturers which are there. So there has to be some arrangement between how the communication technology is moving in the country and what the meter manufacturers are putting the communication in the meter to interact with it, and the cost factor. Because as Mr. Singhvi and Tandon mentioned, that the data is a cost, and how you quickly push the data into the in the meter data management system at a very low cost, that is going to be the key challenge for the coming days for the meter industry.
Mr. Singhvi, technology-wise, what is the next step?
I think if you see the trend, the most important point where people will see the operating cost. Amit talk about the 4G, 5G, 6G, whatever it may be tomorrow. See, meter data is very small. You never send more than a megabyte data. And what is worldwide is emerging today, the narrow band of other IoT technologies are coming in a big way. And people predict that operating cost will reduce significantly with IoT technologies coming in. Then there are a few other technologies also emerging, which may be suitable for the rural area, which can go longer distances with a low power, etc. So I think there is a lot of advancement taking place in the communication technology side. So I think going forward, the communication technologies are, one is the initial operating cost is reducing, and I think the initial capex is reducing, and in the operating cost is also reducing. So I see a lot of investment in the communication side, and I think some of the other areas where I think metering will play important role is the power quality parameters, at least for substation at a large point of grid point of view. And I think because new charter which is coming, new supply conditions are coming, Government of India has also given a consultation now, the power quality will become an important parameter. So I think how the power quality is measured at the grid point, different parameters, because consumers will demand, this will be another area. And third thing which will happen, the government is talking about direct benefit transfer. So I think the method of use will change. Okay, how the consumer DBT can be implemented like we did for the LPG. So I think these applications will be the emerging applications.
Thank you. We're now going to take questions from the audience. So this will be a bit of a rapid fire mode because we have a lot of questions and we have 15 minutes to answer these questions. And the first question will go to Mr. Kumar. It's from Amit Sharma. And I'll read this question so that I'm not fully getting it. My question is to, what is the cost of smart metering deployment, including associated communication and IT infrastructure separately for whole current, LT, CTPT, and HT? And he's saying, since L&T is executing the project in Indore, perhaps they can take that into account. Mr. Kumar.
You see, the cost of the smart meter with the installation and the related infrastructure comes to around 6,000 to 7,000 rupees at a consumer place. Now, I think what Mr. Sharma is looking at the node cost of it. The node cost comes to almost around today 80 to 90 rupees, something between 80 to 90 rupees for the discount. And I think that is what ESL has also agreed to pay the different discounts per month as a node cost.
Okay, and he's talking about whole current single phase versus LT versus HT.
No, yes, of course. See, the LT meter as such, the basic cost of LT meter is almost not double, but at least 1.8 times the single phase meter. But you see the LT side or the whole current meter, what he is talking of, whole current meter goes to a bigger consumer.
Okay.
So there you see any discount will be able to appreciate even the per node cost goes up because his billing is very high as compared to the single phase meter what we install.
Okay.
So, but Indore was a pilot project we did for the first time. So the costs were, now we have also learned how to manage the cost.
Right.
So in the going forward, I think the cost will go down. So indoor may not be taken as a base price for order.
Okay. Next question I'll send to Mr. Singhvi. Is from Mr. Bharat Parekh. I'll just read out the question. How does one evaluate China import ban? Does it mean only fully built meters are not allowed, or even components will be banned? And if that's the case, how will Discom check percentage import component? And are these component manufacturing available in India, sir?
I think the government of India's whole focus is Atmanirbhar Bharat. Their products are manufactured in India, and their point is that even those components which are imported from sensitive countries and are sensitive components, there will be some methodology of testing by independent laboratory, which government of India is putting a framework in place. There will be still some dependency on China for some time to come, because there are few items where the 50 to 60% capacity still lies in China. I will give example of liquid crystal displays, batteries, printed circuit board, some of the processor, etc., etc. And some of these basic components, there is no China risk. I can, if you ask me honestly, what a PCB can do is a bare board, nothing can happen. Or if a liquid crystal display, there is no sensitivity. Communication module, etc., are sensitive, are important. But I think at the same time, there are a few other countries where I think the industry is exploring alternative countries. But at the same time, we at IMA are working very closely with the government of India. How over the next 2 to 3 years' time, these items can be manufactured in India itself.
Okay, and the raw materials?
The raw materials still, China dependency is there. But as I said, the Indian industry is working with the government. How this investment can come in India, and India can become independent of any import in electronic items.
Okay. My next question, I'll go to Mr. Tandon. Mr. Tandon, this is a question from Bharat Parekh. He wants to know how are utilities going to be, how will they be able to afford and pay you when their own losses are doubling, and what are you seeing right now in terms of payments?
You're talking of the use of the smart meters for?
Yeah, Discoms who buy your meters.
See, this is what I just shared earlier also. Basically, see, what we are getting misled is only the cost of the meter. You have to see the cost of the ownership. When you deploy a meter, you need not to read the meter by a meter reader. You are saving that cost. Number one. Number two, there is a theft which is going on in a particular house, which you only come to know after 2 months when you go and read the meter. And then you send the notice, and then you get disconnected after a month. So you take 3 months to disconnect a thief or a customer or a consumer who is stealing energy, and somebody else who is the tax paying, he is paying, on behalf of him. So basically, on that, immediately if you have the HES and MDM in place, a smart meter, you can disconnect him on real-time basis. You need not to wait for 3 months and go into legalities and legal tangles and courts and to settle it out.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say again.
His question is about how the utility is going to be able to pay. The utility of meters, of course, is unquestionable. The economic logic is very sound. But what has been your experience, and what do you expect the Discom's financial and cash flow situation to be? Are you seeing?
See, I tell you, there were two things. One is the support from the central government. That is what we have been discussing, and support has to come to initially start building up the infrastructure and the meter. And going forward, utilities have to be self-sustainable. They cannot be in RAD for the next 10 years. The whole purpose of having a smartness in the system is to get the billing accurate, to get the reading accurate, and to get the revenue. If I am consuming, I pay for it. Simple as that. So if you are at 23% of all India aggregate AT&C losses, the whole target by the Government of India Ministry of Power is to move to 12% by implementation of this smart meter. We may not reach, but that's where if you see the 10% and you divide by the rupees, the INR, the dollars, you will come to know that how they will get back the money. It is simple mathematics.
Okay. I should mention to the questioner that I think yesterday the GS mentioned that they are raising 90 crores. They've gone to 110 or somewhere there. I think he mentioned that yesterday in his session with us on the participation. My next question, I will go to Mr. Kumar. This is from Bharat Parekh, although you answered part of it, or Mr. Singhvi has forgotten it. How many meters in India have a billing of at least 200 rupees per month? Because he's saying that at what level is the meter commercially viable? At what level of billing? I think somebody mentioned 1,000 rupees per month, right?
Yeah.
What is your thought, Mr. Kumar? Sir, you have to unmute yourself, sir. Sorry.
700 to 1,000 rupees is what general because I think that slowly the country will try to move to OPEX, but the meter industry is not prepared for it. But you see, in a country where we have got today around, say, 30 crore 27 to 30 crore installations of systems in the country, which are there. I think almost 60% of them, 60 to 70% of them below this level.
All right. Okay. Mr. Tandon, do you have any thoughts on the viability, what the billing needs to be for smart meters to be viable? Sir, you have to unmute yourself. Sorry,
Please, sorry. Slightly, I have a different angle. It can be 200 rupees, 100 rupees, or 500 rupees. Are you collecting it? Simple as that. If you're not able to collect it 200 rupees, you go for a smart meter to ensure that you collect that 200 rupees. Maybe the return of the investment may come in 2 years, but you are even investing 1,000 rupees a normal meter or 1,200 rupees normal meter, and you're not getting back money because he is stealing it and AT&C loss is not coming down. You're not getting that 200 rupees back.
Okay. Okay. Next question from Bharat Parekh. I think it's more of a ministry question, so Mr. Parekh, we'll come back to you on that one. It's about succession on the program launch. I think you asked a question from JF yesterday, and he kind of gave you an answer. So my next question to you is going to be more in terms of learning from you. And I'll begin with Mr. Singhvi. Mr. Singhvi, payments from discoms, have they gotten worse in the last few months, or are they similarly? Are they equally bad? Sir, you have to unmute yourself.
General answer, I think there are some of the discoms are very good. They've been paying on time, and some of the discom which were not paying earlier are also not paying now. So they got another reason for not paying.
Okay, so it's no difference as such.
No, I think it's not right now, but I see problem coming in next 2 to 3 months. Okay, because so whatever not collected earlier will hit them now.
Okay, so increase in receivables you're expecting.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, Mr. Tandon, what is your? Maybe you have a better success at this.
I mean, there's been, I will not say much improvement, but definitely we have taken up this with our honorable, Power Minister also during the meeting. There have been some push from their side also letters. So something has moved, but not to then an extent. If we have to recover 100 rupees, we might have only recovered 20 rupees. Okay. We thought to get 80 rupees and we have got 20 rupees. So I will not say zero. So it was 100 rupees outstanding. We got something, but not to an extent that.
Have your receivables increased or decreased?
Receivable has gone up, definitely.
All right. Okay. Mr. Kumar?
You see, one of the biggest challenges which the meter industry has given to me after I have taken over as chairman of IMA is to help in collecting the payment. That is the biggest challenge for the Indian meter industry. And I have told in my interaction even to the power minister that day that the industry will have a natural death if the money is not coming.
Right. Okay. Sir,
that is the biggest pain for the industry as on date.
Okay. Mr. Parekh has clarified his question because he wants your industry view on this. He wants to know, in your opinion, and of course, it's not that you have, it's just your guess, as to when the suction will come, because without which the subsidy payment will not be there. So does any of you have any opinion or thoughts or,
I will give a general comment. For next 12 months, I think priority of the government will be very different because we are still fighting with the COVID. Health sector will be important. So I'm not a finance ministry man, but my assumption is that maybe 8 to 10 months away any scheme.
Okay. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes, I think so.
Yes. Okay. I think with that, we will end this session. It's been a very insightful session and very interesting session. And for that, we are grateful to Mr. Kumar, Mr. Singhvi, and Mr. Tandon. And if I was there, I would be clapping.
Thank you all for inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you
so much.
You have got an excellent team and they do beautiful work. So my compliments to them also, including you.
Thank you. I'll use it in my letter to you about any advertising and anniversary issue.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, we are ending the session here, and over to you, Ritika, for telling us what happened next.